It's somehow already June, and I've read 40 books this year, and I've got thoughts on them. Let's talk favorites, surprises, and everything in between. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. This is the 2025 mid-year book freakout tag. I've been seeing this going around on a lot of different booktubers channels, and I just think it's so fun and entertaining, so I wanted to give you my thoughts on it. I have a list of about 16 questions, and I'm super excited to talk to you about all of the books that I've read this year and my thoughts on them, and I'm super excited to get into it and talk about some of my favorites, my least favorites, some of my disappointments, favorite authors, favorite characters, and I think we should just get right into it. The first question is, what is the best book that I've read this year? And this is a super easy one for me because I have a undeniable winner for this question. I've had multiple 5-star books this year, which I am so grateful for and so happy about. But this one, I don't know how it's much better than my other 5-star reads, but it is significantly better. I love this book so much. I think this may be the best book I've read in my entire life. I love this book, and that is The Night and the Moth by Rachel Gillig. I truly loved everything about this book. If you follow me on any of my socials, YouTube, TikTok, you'll know that I rave about this book constantly. This book is like literally everything to me. I really don't know how. I've rated all of her books 5 stars, but for some reason this one just takes the cake. This book is a work of art. It's a masterpiece. The aesthetics in the book are so brought to life. They're so realistic feeling, and like you just truly feel like you're in this world that she created when you're reading it. And that's such an amazing feeling to feel when you're reading a book, but it's even more amazing when you love the world and you love the aesthetics that it's giving off. I've said this before, I read this while it was very rainy outside, and I think that might have added to my enjoyment of this book. I love this book. This is an amazing book. I truly think that it's perfect. I have no notes. I have nothing bad to say about it. Rachel Gillig, you are incredible, and I can't wait to read more of your books, especially the sequel to this book. That may be the most anticipated release on my radar forever. Like, truly, I am so excited. Since I've read this book, I literally cannot stop thinking about it. I can't stop thinking about what's going to happen to Sybil. I can't stop thinking about the gargoyle. Like, I just truly love everything about this book. I loved the characters so much. Sybil, the gargoyle. I loved how there was a found family aspect. I loved how the romance was so simple, but it was so simple and such a minor part of the story compared to everything else. But it was also just so beautiful and done so well. I just truly think this book is a masterpiece, and I don't see how any other book could possibly top it. And I know that's such a crazy thing to say, but I've read a lot of books, and this is by far my favorite. Not even just of the year or just of this half of the year, of possibly ever. Let me stop raving about this, but if you are looking for a good gothic fantasy vibe or read, this is 100% the one. You should definitely read it. Whenever people ask, I tell them they should read the Shepherd King duology first, not because it has any impact on this book at all, but I do think that it's important to understand her way of writing and her worlds before you dive into this one. I think it will just help you appreciate it more. And also, those are both 5-star books for me, so I don't think there's any harm in starting there. But if you are going to read this, I'm so jealous of you. If you are going to get to read this for the first time and it's because of me, please tell me your thoughts below. I truly can't even imagine anyone not liking this book. And if you didn't like this book, can you please tell me why? Because as you can tell, I literally love it. I love it. Moving on. The next question is the best sequel that I've read in 2025. This is also an easy one for me because this series literally has my heart. I say this all the time, but this series is my heart in book form. And I started this year, actually my first book of the year was Beartown by Frederick Bachman. This book was so heartbreaking and emotional and also funny somehow. And it was just perfectly written. I think I gave it 4.5 stars. I loved this book. However, the second book in the series This book was everything to me. I gave it 5 stars. It was such an easy 5 stars. This book tore my heart out and stomped on it and burnt it on fire. And set it on fire. So many other things before it put it back. I cannot even tell you how many times I cried while reading this book. I could not stop reading this book. Everywhere I went, I was just like, I could not put it down. I was so obsessed. I also read the 3rd book in this series, and this one was also extremely emotional. I think I also gave this one 4 or 4.5 stars, but this one, 5 stars. And for some reason, I cried so much more during this one than either of the other 2. And if you know me, and if you've been paying attention to any of my book ratings, I love a book that tears me apart. I really do. I really love when books make me cry. I'm not like a overly emotional person, so when a book can do that to me, like, it really says a lot about that book. And I will say over and over and over again, Fredrik Backman, I will read anything he writes. If you have not read a Fredrik Backman book, you're truly missing out. He is an amazing, incredible author. He has a very, very unique way of writing, and it does something for me. I love it. I think he's just an incredible writer. I can't even comprehend how he puts together the things he puts together. He writes the most beautiful, realistic, honest characters. The characters in this series were everything to me. I felt so deeply attached to all of them, and I wanted the best for all of them. And Fredrik Backman has a way of writing where he foreshadows something that's going to happen. Not even necessarily foreshadowing. Sometimes he'll straight up tell you what's going to happen in the beginning of the book, and then throughout the whole book, you're just thinking about that thing, like, oh my God, it's coming. Oh my God, it's coming. And you're growing these emotional attachments to these characters, knowing that something bad is going to happen to them. And it makes the impact of that thing that happens so much harder for some reason. I don't know. He's an incredible writer. If you haven't read his books, please do. Okay, let's get into the next question. The next question is, what is a 2025 new release that you haven't read yet, but you want to read? And for me, it is a book that came out in January of 2025, I believe, and has been on my TBR since then. I picked it as my book of the month pick because it sounded so interesting, and then I never got to it. And I'm gonna be honest, I'm probably not gonna get to it until at least the winter time, because in my head, this is a winter book, and I am a very atmospheric reader, so to me I think that's important. But it is still on my radar, and I am still excited to get to it, and that is The Favorites by Lane Fargo. When this came out, I saw so many people talking about it and obsessing over it and comparing it to Daisy Jones and the Six, which is a extremely popular and well-loved book. Now I'm gonna be honest, I haven't read Daisy Jones and the Six either, but I am very intrigued by that book. That's definitely a book I want to get to eventually, and I do know the gist of it, and I understand that it's a book with very toxic interconnected relationships, and this one apparently has a similar dynamic. Something about me, super random, I don't know why, as a child I was obsessed with figure skating. I loved watching shows, movies, I loved everything about figure skating. When the Olympics would come on, that's the one thing I wanted to watch. Like, I really am excited to get to this book. I think it'll be a fun time. I live for the drama. I live for the toxicity. I love a book with a toxic relationship, and I think that this might give that, and I'm really excited to get to it. I mean, even this, to the world they were a scandal, to each other an obsession. That's literally a perfect quote right there. That'll get me. But yeah, I'm excited to get to this, but it probably won't be until winter time. So moving on. The next question is, what is my most anticipated release for the rest of 2025? I have 2 releases that I am so excited for. The first one comes out this month, which is actually insane because her last release also came out this year, but I'm super excited for it, and this is a little bit controversial given her recent opinions on generative AI, and I just want to say I do not agree with those. I do not agree with the use of generative AI in creative spaces, especially the book world. But I can't lie, I love her writing, I love her worlds, I love her characters, but I am excited to read it, and that is Time of Your Life by Jessa Hastings. I love the Magnolia Park series. It's one of my favorite series ever. And I also really loved The Conditions of Will. I gave this 5 stars. This was one of my favorite books of the year. And I really do want to read Time of Your Life. I will be trying to find it at the library. I don't think I'm going to purchase it, but I am excited to read it. It is one of my most anticipated releases. And it comes out this month, which is super exciting. My other most anticipated release is the sequel to a book that I read this year and I loved. I don't know what made me pick up this book. I didn't know this author. I didn't know anything about this book. I've seen it nowhere and I loved it. And that was Servant of the Earth. The sequel of this book comes out, I believe, in September, and it's called Princess of Blood. I have never heard of Sarah Hawley. Now that I have read this book, I am now aware of some of her other books, and I am super excited to get into those. But so far, this is the only book I've read by her. I read it in January or February, and I had no idea that this was a series. I had no idea that the second book wasn't out. I literally knew nothing about this book. I just picked it up because, look how beautiful. This is just such a cute book of cute cover. Everything about it I thought was cute. I picked it up at Barnes & Noble and just went with it. And then I ended up loving it like a lot. And then I discovered that the second book wasn't coming out until the end of the year. And that broke my heart. I literally stayed up all night to finish this book. Once I started it, I think I finished it within like 48 hours. And then the ending left off on a cliffhanger and I had no idea that there was going to be a second book or that it wasn't out. And it broke my heart. It literally broke my heart knowing that I would have to wait months to get to the next book. And I believe the next book comes out in September. So you'll see me reading that in September because I'm super excited about it. Okay, this next question is a little bit sad. I don't like hating on books, but it has to be done sometimes. And this question is, what is my biggest disappointment of the year? And I have to be honest and tell you that it was Problematic Summer Romance. I do want to say this is not the worst book I've read this year. I've definitely read way worse books, but in terms of disappointment, to me, that means I had really high hopes for it and it let me down. And that was this one. I was super excited to get into this book. I started reading Allie Hazelwood books this year and I kind of fell in love with her writing, the way she writes, and some of her books. I'm not saying all of her books are amazing, but they all definitely captured my attention. They definitely were enjoyable, even if they weren't necessarily good. But I don't really feel that way about this one. I read Not in Love just so that I could be prepared to read this one as soon as it came out because I was so excited about it. The idea of an Allie Hazelwood age gap romance in Italy, I just truly thought this was going to be a perfect book, a perfect summer book as well. And I think it just fell very flat for me. I think in the past, Allie Hazelwood has written different relationship dynamics in such a interesting or almost informative way. And for this one, for the age gap romance, I just don't think she did it well. I think she focused a little bit too much on it and too much on the negatives instead of the exploration of what their relationship would look like as an age gap romance. And I just really didn't enjoy it. I think that the constant talk about the dynamic and how, oh, people think he's my dad, or just all of the father-daughter jokes, it just wasn't interesting. The age gap wasn't that big of a deal. There was nothing weird about it. There was no weird relationship that they had while she was a child or literally anything like that. It was two grown adults who reconnected and not even really reconnected. They kind of just met each other for the first time. They knew of each other, but they had no connection, no relationship. And then when they met again, they were adults. They were both consenting, full-grown adults. And I could understand why it would be weird at first. I could understand why Hark especially would be nervous to pursue it in that way. But as the years went on and as the book went on, it just started getting really old, because if you're not going to pursue it, then just don't pursue it. If you have a problem with the age gap, then just have a problem with it and leave her alone. What ended up happening was a lot worse than it needed to be. He could have either just chose to not care about it, to get over it, or not pursue her in any way, shape, or form. But that's just my opinions. I do want to say though that I loved the setting of this book. I loved seeing all of the characters from Not in Love in this dynamic. I really did enjoy Maya's character. I think she was a bit annoying at times and very immature and childish, but I think that was to add to the dynamic of the age gap and make it seem more prevalent than it really was. And by the end, it was, it turned out fine, but Hark really annoyed me. Maya annoyed me at times, and I just don't think the age gap was done well. And that's all I want to say about this, but I did enjoy this book. It was just a huge disappointment to me in terms of the execution. Okay, now moving on to something more positive, which is the biggest surprise I've had this year in terms of my reading, and that was reading His and Hers by Alice Feeney and realizing that I think I really like thriller books. I've only read this book. I haven't read any other thriller books. I read this for a challenge that's coming out on my channel soon, or maybe it's already up, where I was reading only genres that I've never read before. I'm a scaredy cat. I hate scary things. I hate scary movies, I hate anything scary. And in my head, thriller means scary. However, this was so good. I read this within like 24 hours and I really enjoyed it. I don't think I will become a thriller girly, but I am definitely now more open to reading other thriller books. I did ask on my TikTok, and I'll ask you guys as well, if you have thriller recommendations that aren't focused on the horror aspect of it. Please leave them down below, because I am interested in reading more thriller books, but I am still nervous to come across scary thriller books. That's not really what I want, but I did enjoy the suspense of this book, and I ended up giving this 4.5 stars. So that was a huge surprise to me. I'm very shocked that I enjoyed a thriller book. The next question is, what is my favorite new author of the year? And I believe this means in terms of debut authors or new authors to me. I actually don't know what books I've read are by debut authors, but I do know what authors were new to me, so I'm just going to stick with that side of the question. An obvious one for me is Ali Hazelwood, because I read like 5 of her books within the span of a month, and I had never read her books before. So Ali Hazelwood is definitely up there. She's definitely an author that I will be reading any book that she releases. So I would have to say she is going to be one of my new favorite authors. And then I have 2 authors that I've only read one book by them, but I really enjoyed them, and I know that I'll be reading more books by them. So these maybe aren't new favorite authors, but new authors that I'll definitely keep an eye out for. And the first one is one that I've already raved about, which is Sarah Hawley. I loved this book, and it definitely drew me in to want to know more about her and read more of her books. And then another book along the same lines that I really loved and now want to read more of that author was Before We Were Strangers by Renee Carlino. I don't have the physical book. I read it on Kindle Unlimited, but I just really love that book. I think I gave it 4 stars, but as time has gone on, I can't stop thinking about that book. I can't stop talking about that book. And I think I'm going to have to raise that rating. And I'm also definitely going to have to read more of her books because I really enjoyed how she wrote that book. Okay, now to continue raving about the same book, I think I've spent like half of this video talking about this book, but the next question is a new fictional crush. And for me, that is Lord Callan in Servant of the Earth. So to give a little backstory, this book is about a girl who stumbles into a fae realm where there are different fae courts that all serve one fae king. And the fae courts all have different types of magic. And one of those courts is the Void Court, where they have what I would call shadow magic. And the lord of that court is Lord Callan. And Lord Callan is not the main love interest in this book, but he's my main love interest in this book. He is like a shadow fae with all of the secrets. He's a spy master, an assassin. He's known for how dangerous and deadly and scary he is. And he's just very mysterious and morally gray at some points. But we have seen that there's more to him. He has a little bit of a vulnerable side. and he's a little bit protective, and I don't know, he's giving me Asriel vibes, and I'm an Asriel girly, and I just really like him, and I am so excited to see more of him and where or if their relationship progresses in the second book. But yeah, that's all I have to say. He's my new fictional crush of the year. Kind of the only one. This was kind of a hard question for me. There's not a ton of fictional men that really capture my interest. I usually just enjoy the story more than I am, you know, book boyfriends and stuff like that. But this one, yeah. Okay, time to talk about it. My favorite character of the year. This is an easy one, and also one that makes me want to cry. And that is the gargoyle from The Night and the Moth. The gargoyle is like he's my, like, stand behind me. Like I will protect him until the end of the earth. The gargoyle has my heart. The gargoyle is everything to me. I literally love him. If you read this book and you didn't love him, you are mentally unwell and you need help. Like that's kind of all I have to say about it. I love him. I will protect him. If something happens to him, Rachel Gillick, if something happens to him, I'm not reading your books. I'm just not going to read your books again. Like that would be insane. Do not hurt the gargoyle. Do not hurt the gargoyle. Okay, that's all. That's really all I have to say. Favorite character, gargoyle. Okay, next question. Let's talk about books that made me cry this year. Frederick Bachman. He made me cry this year. A lot. He made me cry a lot this year. Beartown trilogy, the whole thing had me sobbing. I cried in every one of these books, especially this one and the end of this one. I cried. I sobbed. Like these books made me cry. That's really all I can even say about it. Like I cried a lot during these books. They were so heartbreaking. They weren't even just crying because horrible things happened. I cried because of how much I loved these characters. I just really love these books, and honestly, the characters, the fact that I was leaving this world made me cry. These made me cry a lot. I just said that like 10 times, and that's really all I can say about it. I don't know. I think if you've read these books, you'd understand. You're just gonna cry. Like that's it. You just cry. When you read these, you cry. And I'm still just repeating myself. I don't know. I can't explain it. I think you just need to read it to understand. They're gonna make you cry. My Friends by Frederick Bachman. This will make you cry. And actually, leading into the next question, which is books that made you happy cry. So I'm just gonna say this made me sad cry and happy cry. This book will make you cry. And it's not always a bad thing. It made me cry a lot of time. I mean, first of all, look at how many tabs it has. It definitely is like, this is just a very emotional book. These, you know, Beartown, like there's like a real story. They're not just all emotions. A lot of what makes you cry is the plot. For this book, it makes you cry not because of the plot, but because of not even their emotions, my emotions. I mean, I could find you a quote right now that could explain what I mean. Okay. This isn't something that's going to make you cry because of the plot or the characters. It's going to make you think about your own life, and it's going to make you cry because of your own life, and maybe out of happiness, maybe out of sadness or nostalgia or whatever else. But so this is him talking about life. That's all of life, all we can hope for. You mustn't think about the fact that it might end, because then you live like a coward. You never love too much or sing too loudly. You have to take it for granted, the artist thinks, the whole thing. Sunrises and slow Sunday mornings and water balloons and another person's breath against your neck. That's the only courageous thing a person can do. He just writes so beautiful. But I didn't just cry for myself in this book. I also cried for the characters, and I also happy cried for the characters. Back to what I was saying about Beartown and how Frederick Bachman will write something that's going to happen, and then you're thinking about it the whole time knowing that it's going to happen. In this book, he wrote some stuff that was going to happen in very vague ways and had me convinced that something bad was going to happen to certain characters. And then when it didn't happen in the way that I expected based off of what he said was going to happen, I cried out of happiness because it didn't happen. This book it did. It had me crying a lot. I wasn't sobbing. I wasn't like an emotional wreck, but the tears were shed. Like I was definitely shedding some tears. Okay, I keep talking about this book, but the most beautiful book I've bought or received this year, for me, it is The Night and the Moth. I am so obsessed with this edition of this book. I love the original Night and the Moth cover, which looks like this. And that is so beautiful, but I mean, the purple and silver with the silver foiling is just another level to me. Like I'm just so obsessed, and to me, that's Sybil. I don't know who that is, but that is Sybil. That's my Sybil. And then also, I mean, look at this cover. Look at this book without the cover. It is so beautiful. It's stunning. The sprayed edges of the stained glass. I mean, come on. The end papers. Look at my Sybil. And then this, I love this one. Like, wow. This is 100%, without a doubt, the most beautiful book I've received this year. I am in love with it. And I also love the book, so maybe that's why I'm even more obsessed with this cover and how beautiful it is. Okay, the next question is, what books do I still need to read by the end of the year? This isn't necessarily a need, but it is definitely something I want to get to. That is the rest of the Poppy Ward trilogy by R.F. Kuang. I read this first book, and then I also read about half of the second book, but I do want to finish that up, and also the third book. I really enjoyed this book. I do think that it's a book that you have to like really think about while you read, and a lot of times I just want to enjoy my time and read, but I do want to get to it by the end of this year, so we'll see if that happens. And then another book that I want to get to before the end of the year is a book that is always on my TBR. It is a book I have been wanting to read for months now. I love Kristen Hanna. I love Kristen Hanna's books, but they do destroy me emotionally, and sometimes I don't know if I can handle it. So The Women has been on my TBR for so many months, and I definitely need to read it before the end of the year, but I'm scared. I'm a scaredy cat. I don't think I'm ready to sob over this book. I don't know why. I'm convinced that this book, more than the others, is really gonna break me, and the other ones destroyed me. So that is why this book has been put off for so long, but I do want to get to it before the end of the year. The next question is a TBR title that you're saving for the remainder of the year. This one is kind of shocking that I haven't read it, but I just never got into it. I love the movies, and I am saving this for Christmas time because to me, this is a Christmas book and a Christmas movie, and that is Harry Potter. I have never read the Harry Potter series. I attempted to start it last Christmas time, and then I got distracted and never got back to it. But this year, actually this winter, I am going to read the Harry Potter series, and I am also probably going to be making a whole video of me reading the series with full spoilers, everything included, and all of my reactions, and I think that is going to be such a good time. Also, I just love this edition of Harry Potter. It's so cute. I'm really excited to get to this one. Like I said, I love the movies. I've loved the movies since I was younger, and I just never read the books, so it is time. It is time to read the books. Okay, the next question is, how many books have I read so far in 2025? And my answer to that is 42, but the books that I'm including in this mid-year tag is only 40 because it is now July 6th or 7th, and I have read 2 more books in that time. But as of July 1st, I had only read 40 books. And then the next question is, do you have any reading goals or changes to your reading goals for the remainder of the year? And I do have changes to my goals because originally my goal was to read 45 books this year, and I'm already at 42, so I am actually going to be changing that to 75, which I think I could surpass that, but I want to keep the pressure off myself. I am very terrified of putting myself into a reading slump, so I don't want to force anything. So now my goal is 75 for the remainder of the year, and then also another goal I have for myself is to read some of these books that have been on my TBR for a really long time, especially my physical TBR. I I'm probably going to be making a video soon about my physical TBR, but I have a pretty crazy amount of books on my physical TBR, and it's definitely time to work my way through them. So those are my reading goals for the remainder of the year, and that is the conclusion of my 2025 mid-year book freakout tag. But yeah, I had a good time talking about all of these books that I love or maybe don't love or want to get to. And if you want to answer the questions down below, I'm definitely going to be leaving all of the questions I answered in the description. So maybe just go through and answer them all, or answer which ones you want to answer. And I'd love to talk about the books with you. Yeah, thanks for watching. I had a great time.